Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into a topic we all crave, motivation.
Oh, yeah, motivation. Everyone wants it.
Right. We talk about it all the time, but what actually is motivation?
Most people, honestly, I think they picture like some kind of burst of energy, right? Like this magical thing.
Yeah, like you just suddenly get motivated.
But in reality, it's a lot more complex. Like it's this whole mix of stuff going on, biology and feeling.
Now, relationships even.
Totally. Even the way we think plays a big role.
It's like we think if we just try hard enough to be motivated, it'll just happen.
Yeah. So how would I define it? Motivation's the why, like the why behind what we do. What makes us go for things.
Okay, so it's not just wanting some kind of reward.
No, it's not just the shiny stuff. It's also got to be something that makes us feel good, like internally.
Like it has to matter to us.
Exactly. And that reminds me of, gosh, what is that quote? I think it's Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Oh, that's a good one. Our mindset is huge EE, isn't it?
Absolutely huge. The way we think about ourselves, about the world, it's all a part of this.
But then there are those external things too, right? Like a promotion at work or, the fear of missing a deadline.
For sure. So that's the whole extrinsic versus intrinsic thing.
Oh, right, the classic.
Extrinsic is like those outside factors, the rewards or the things we want to avoid.
Like training a dog with treats.
Yeah.
Right? They do the trick to get the treat.
Perfect example. And then on the flip side, intrinsic is when you just enjoy doing something. It feels good for its own sake.
So that dog's playing fetch just because it's fun, not for a treat.
You got it.
Yeah.
And actually, there's this other type that some people talk about, family motivation.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Like, think of parents working so hard to provide or taking care of family, even when it's really hard.
Yeah, that's definitely powerful.
That's not quite like pure intrinsic, but it comes from a place of, love and responsibility.
Okay, so we have all these types swirling around. But how does it all work? What makes us feel motivated or totally unmotivated?
Well, it's not a simple switch, that's for sure.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
It's all these things working together, like what we need, our thoughts, and our emotions.
So Mads needs, or are we talking Maslow's hierarchy here? The pyramid thing.
Bingo, that's a good way to think about it. Maslow helps us see that our motivation changes depending on what needs are met or not met, right?
So if you're worried about basic survival, that's where your focus goes. Makes sense.
Right. So where does something like self-actualization fit in? Like reaching our full potential?
Ooh, good question. Is that intrinsic or extrinsic?
I'd say it leans intrinsic for sure, because it's about you, not about some external reward.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. But it probably gets complicated, right? Like in real life, it's not always so clear cut.
Exactly. Someone might want to be, the best at their job for both reasons. Like they want the recognition, sure, but they also get satisfaction from using their skills.
So even our biggest goals can have a little bit of both.
And here's where it gets really personal because, we all have different needs, different thoughts.
Different things make us tick.
Right. And that's important. Like, what motivates you specifically? What pushes you to go after a goal?
For some people, it's competition. For others, it's helping others. So many variations.
Knowing what makes you tick, that's a huge first step to using that motivation.
And this makes me think about goals. Like, if we don't have a clear goal, how can we be motivated to reach it?
You're right. Locke's goal-setting theory, it emphasizes specific goals. Not just vague ideas, but real concrete ones.
You used to think the bigger the goal, the better. But honestly, it's breaking it down that works.
Yeah.
Small steps.
It's less overwhelming that way. And it ties into this idea of SMART goals, which we'll talk about more later.
SMART goals.
Okay.
I'm intrigued. What makes them so special?
Well, SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Oh, I see. So it's like a recipe for setting goals that actually make sense.
Exactly. It's like having a map, not just wandering around lost.
We've covered a lot. What motivation is, the types, the process, the whole goal thing.
We have. But there's more. We've got to talk about what happens when motivation just disappears.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
And is there a way to hack it, give ourselves a boost when we're stuck?
I like the sound of that.
Well, stay tuned. That's what we're unpacking next. So let's talk hacks. Remember how we were saying to break those big tasks down?
Yeah, smaller chunks.
That's one of the best ways to get going, seriously.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant?
Huh. One bite at a time. Exactly.
When you focus on those smaller wins.
You start to feel like you're actually making progress, and that helps you keep going.
Like a snowball, right? It builds and builds.
Love that. Another big one is confidence. When we believe we can do something.
We're more likely to actually do it. Makes sense.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Totally. Which brings us back to goals. Setting the right goals, I mean.
Blocks theory, remember? Too easy and we're bored. Too hard, we give up.
Gotta find that sweet spot. Like Goldilocks, right?
Huh. Not too hard, not too soft. Perfect. And then there's reinforcement.
Oh, yeah, the carrots and sticks.
Well, not exactly sticks, more like taking away something unpleasant.
Wait, explain that.
So negative reinforcement, it's not punishment. It's more like if you hate doing dishes.
The relief you feel when they're done is the reinforcement.
Yeah. You're motivated to avoid that feeling of them piling up.
So it's still about getting something good, just by getting rid of the bad.
You got it. And then positive reinforcement is more straightforward. It's the rewards.
Like treating yourself after a long week.
Exactly. Speaking of rewards, have you heard of temptation bundling?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's basically pairing something you love with something you don't.
Like only watching your favorite show while you're on the treadmill.
Yep. Or only getting that fancy coffee when you're tackling your least favorite work task.
It's like tricking yourself into doing stuff. I bet our listeners have some good examples.
Oh, for sure. We all have our ways of making things more fun, right? Like, I love listening to audiobooks while I fold laundry.
Nice. Music does it for me. Certain playlists make even chores feel bearable.
You see? But then, what about when motivation goes totally off the rails?
When it's like crickets.
Yeah, when you're stuck procrastinating. We're just feeling blah. That's when you gotta dig deeper.
Could be a sign of something bigger going on.
Could be burnout, maybe, or even something medical. Always worth checking in with a doctor if it's really bad.
Good point. We forget that motivation isn't just in our heads.
Totally. It's connected to everything. And that makes me think, what about fear as a motivator?
Ooh, yeah. We've all had that deadline panic.
Right. It works in the short term, but is it good long term?
I don't think so. When I'm scared, I'm not at my best.
Exactly. It's more like frantic energy, not that calm, focused kind.
So it's not sustainable.
Not really. Positive stuff like rewards and building that internal enjoyment, that's better in the long run.
Makes sense. So we've got what motivation is, the types, the goals, even how to kind of hack it.
And how to make it last.
Yeah.
But how does all this apply to like the real world?
Yeah, good question.
Motivation principles, they're used everywhere. In businesses, sports, that therapy.
So we can use this stuff no matter what we're trying to do.
Pretty much. It's all about understanding what drives us as humans and then using that knowledge to, set ourselves up for success.
It's like having a cheat code for life.
Huh. I like that. And anyone can learn how to use it.
That's what's so cool. We're not just stuck with whatever motivation we happen to have. We can change it.
Exactly. And that's a powerful thing.
It's pretty amazing, right, how this stuff can be used in so many different ways.
Yeah, for real. It's like this universal key to understanding ourselves, our goals.
And reaching those goals too.
Totally. And the more we learn about it, the more we can take charge,
So for our listeners out there, what can they actually do? They've heard all this great stuff. Now what?
Good question. Because knowing the stuff is one thing, but using it, that's the real challenge.
Right, exactly. So any quick tips they can try right away?
I'd say, first, just think about what we talked about. What stuck with you? Did those SMART goals click? Or maybe the temptation bundling.
Both great places to start.
Yeah. And don't try to change everything at once.
You can't.
Pick one thing, try it out, see what happens.
Like a little experiment.
Exactly. And the more you do that, the more you'll figure out what works best for you. Because it's not one size fits all, right?
No way. Everyone's different.
And don't forget, the people around you matter too.
Oh, yeah. Having a good support system.
Find people who inspire you, mentors, friends, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
So important. We don't have to do this alone.
Nope. And remember, motivation. It's not about being perfect.
It's about making progress, even if it's messy.
Exactly. It's about enjoying the journey too.
Well, this has been awesome. Thanks for being here and sharing all this with us.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about this stuff.
And to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Motivation. It's not set in stone. We can learn how to use it to our advantage. So until next time, stay curious, keep experimenting, and find what motivates you to live your best life.